Right. Good morning. Right. Welcome back to this live stream. So we have been seeing the 2025 January month editorials. Right. So important editorials from various newspapers pertaining to our UPSC preparation. Right. So yesterday we had seen one set of editorials. The remaining half we shall finish it today. Okay. So the first topic, right? So it is with respect to our health system, right? So the author, what he says is, right, it is with respect to improving our healthcare system, right? So you are probably aware that the spending on healthcare by India as a percentage of GDP is very less. It is around only 3%. If you take the developed countries, they spend at least around 8% to 10% on healthcare. Okay, so one of the things is India spends very less as a percentage of GDP on healthcare, and we have 1.4 billion people, and we have a very high percentage of youthful population also. And you know that if a youthful population is there, only if health, education, skilling, all this thing is provided, it can contribute to demographic dividend, right? So under the National Health Mission, we are having different tiers of health services, like for example, primary health center is there, then you have the community health center, then you have the family health center, you have the subdivisional or sub-district hospitals, then you have district hospitals, then you have multi and super specialty hospitals, you have medical colleges and hospitals. So all these things are run by the government itself. In addition to this, we are having private hospitals as well as private medical colleges and all. So from the government's side, we are providing all these health facilities right from primary, secondary, tertiary to super specialty healthcare. But the biggest problem in all of these things is lack of enough staff. We are having a shortage of health staff, whether it is doctors, nurses, whether it is ASHA workers, whether it is the male health worker, female health worker, or auxiliary nurse, midwife. In all these things, we are having shortage. Okay, and all these things, the creation of infrastructure as well as funding for all these recruitments and salaries and all comes under the National Health Mission under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. And recently the author is highlighting lot of zoonotic diseases and all is happening, antimicrobial resistance is increasing, you are having lifestyle diseases like for example non-communicable diseases like diabetes, hypertension, cancer, all these things are increasing, right? So for all these things we are having separate programs under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare under the National Health Mission, right? For example, integrated disease surveillance program, that is there. You are having national tobacco elimination plan, that is there, right? National mission for communicable and non-communicable diseases, that is there. So all these things we are running under the National Health Mission. Okay, so now the author is highlighting that there should be more infrastructure, there should be more staff, right? And we also should take heed to the emergence of the zoonotic diseases, right? And to control this zoonotic diseases and ensure that the development that we are having will be sustainable, it will take into account animal health as well as environmental health. The WHO is having the One Health program, in which they are asking all the member countries of WHO to take heed, because they are saying that the animal health, environmental health, human health are all interlinked and interrelated. If we don't pay heed to the environment, then definitely not only our health, the animal health as well as the environmental health will get affected, and this will result in increasing zoonotic diseases and all. Okay, so these is what author is mentioning. And recently you might have seen in the budget also, they are increasing the daycare center for cancer treatment in various districts, right? And apart from that, you might have also heard about the Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, which is nothing but the largest public health insurance scheme, where up to 5 lakh rupees per family they are providing free of cost treatment in all the empaneled hospitals, which includes public as well as private hospitals, right? And this Ayushman Bharat Jan Arogya Yojana has now been enhanced, and it now includes free healthcare services up to 5 lakh rupees for the senior citizens above 70, regardless of their financial status, right? So these are some of the latest things regarding healthcare. So we can see the, now with that, we can move on to the next topic. It is with respect to the radical groups, right, gaining power in various parts of the world. So already you know that in Afghanistan, Taliban has come to power, right? So this Taliban, the US, they announced their fight against the Taliban, and this long drawn 2-decade war happened, right? Since 2000s, the US is there in Afghanistan. They were fighting the Taliban and all, right? The thing is that eventually after 2 decades of war, the US withdrew, and the withdrawal, what happened, they left behind a huge amount of equipment. $7 billion worth of military equipment has been left behind by the US, and now all this is being used by the Taliban. Okay, whether they did it by choice or whether they have an underground dealing with the Taliban, all these things we do not know. It's open to speculation, right? And with the Taliban coming to power, this rabid Salafi jihadi ideology, it is running riot, and all the minorities, whoever were left, for example Hindus, Sikhs, the Zoroastrians or Jains, all of them have been killed, and recently whatever has been left of them, some 200-300 people, the Sikhs, Hindus and all, they have fled the country, they have entered into India. That is one of the reasons why our Citizenship Amendment Act, it is covering the persecuted minorities of Afghanistan, Pakistan as well as Bangladesh, right? So these people, they might need help. Of course they need help, there's no question of might. So in order to provide them that help, we have enacted the Citizenship Amendment Act, right? Now once the other religions have been kicked out, the Taliban is now concentrating on the various ideologies within Islam itself. So they are now promoting the attack against the Shias, and within the Shias you have different Hazaras, Twelver, all these different sects are there. Now they are promoting the attacks against these sects. And another thing, they are implementing the Sharia law, and this Sharia law is implementing a lot of restrictions, right, on various sections of the society like women. So these things were there in the news, right? And another important thing, recently Bashar al-Assad's regime in Syria has also fallen. So he has fled to Russia, right? So Bashar al-Assad was an Alawite, right? So Alawite, they are a separate religion, right? He got them announced as a Shia sect, so to consolidate his power. So he belongs to the Alawite sect, which is around like 10% of the Syrian population, but the majority of Syria, it's once again Sunni Islam. So now this terrorist group, which follows the Wahhabi Salafi ideology, now they have come to power in Syria. Okay, so Bashar al-Assad's regime was criticized for being autocratic, but now he has been replaced by a jihadi terrorist, right? Now they wish to implement the Salafi ideology in Syria. So this is the thing. Now the thing is that Syria government, it was helped by Russia as well as Iran. So now you might have been aware, in the Middle East a lot of changes are taking place, right? Israel has weakened Hamas, Israel has weakened Hezbollah, right? And Israel has weakened the Houthi rebels in Yemen, and Israel has also weakened Iran itself, right? Now Iran's proxies in the region, whether it is Syria, the Assad regime, it has collapsed. Iran's proxy Hamas, they have collapsed. Iran's proxy Hezbollah, they have collapsed. The Houthis are still holding on to Yemen. So on the whole, you can see that Iran's influence in the Middle East has come down. So Shia influence in the Middle East has come down, and the Sunni ideology is on the ascendant. So that is what the latest thing that is there in the Middle East. And now coming to our Indian subcontinent, here also the radical Islamic groups, they have taken over the Bangladesh. Sheikh Hasina's Awami League party has been overthrown. So Sheikh Hasina has been driven out of the country, and the military coup has happened. And this military coup has put a puppet that Muhammad Yunus, right, is a so-called Nobel Prize winner, is an economist, that is what they say, but he has given a free hand to the Muslim ideologues who are all fundamentalist, and right from the get-go they have started persecuting the non-Muslim minorities, especially Hindus, Buddhists, Christians. All these people are getting persecuted, and once again this has resulted in a refugee crisis, right? A lot of them, they are entering into the country. Now once again, to protect the persecuted minorities in Bangladesh, they are covered under the CAA. This becomes more apparent when you see the background of the situation, right? So in 1947, 20% of the population of Pakistan was Hindu. In Bangladesh at the time of independence in 1947, not 20% but nearly 25% of the population was Hindu. And as of 2024, in Pakistan, the percentage of Hindus is 2%. So from 20%, it has come to 2%. And in Bangladesh, the percentage of Hindus has come from 25% to 7%. And of course, in Afghanistan, in 1947, there were around 5 lakh Hindus and Sikhs. Today, there are none. So this is the situation, right? So whenever in the Islamist theocratic states, there will be no minority left. That is the reality. And as long as we fail to confront this particular thing and we accept the reality, it will we will not be able to address the issue as is, because we can't look the other way when the root of the problem is exactly the hardline Islamist ideology. Okay. So challenges for India: you are having a hardline Islamist regime in Afghanistan. You already have a hardline Islamist regime in Pakistan. Now you have a hardline Islamist regime in Bangladesh, and already in Myanmar it is almost the same hardline Islamist regime only. And all of them are one thing: they are all anti-India. That is the biggest problem. But of course, with the Taliban, though we have not officially started the diplomatic ties, we still have the back channel talks and all. The food aid, whatever we have given them, we are continuing to provide, and a lot of back channel talks is happening away from the media glare. And in Afghanistan, we've already seen huge amount of infrastructure, nearly $3 billion worth of infrastructure we have constructed, whether it is the Salma Dam, Afghan Parliament, various educational institutions, various highways, right? The Zaranj Delaram highway, right? So the hospitals, all these things we have constructed there. Even the Afghan Parliament we have constructed. So we are also, I think we discussed yesterday, we are providing the facilities for the training of the Afghan cricket team and all. So anyway, we are having all these problems. So they all can play into China's hands. So this is what we have to tackle, right? So the bilateral relations in India's neighborhood, it is at a very critical, crucial juncture. So we need to ensure that we tackle it and safeguard our interest, okay, because we have a responsibility in protecting the persecuted minorities of these three countries. So we need to ensure that. So instability is there in Bangladesh, it's there in Afghanistan, right? So recently it was also there in Maldives, right? All these things are there. And through social media, the radicalization is taking place. NIA raids, it has become a trend, right? A recurring trend in Kerala, in Tamil Nadu, in various places it's increasing, right? So another important problem with respect to the Rohingya illegal immigrants. So they are entering into the country. They are now located everywhere: Delhi, Jammu, Chennai, Kerala, everywhere. So now we have to deal with them also. So all these things are raising the internal security risk. So we need to handle it carefully, right? So what is the way forward? Strengthening border security, maybe smart surveillance, right? Using drones, thermal imaging, satellites, all these things, right? Physical surveillance through border fencing, all these things maybe. Then patrols, increasing the frequency of patrols, counter radicalization efforts. So we need to ensure that the counter radicalization is done. Okay, a lot of people have been brainwashed into this extremist ideology. So we need to watch what is being peddled, right? So that is one thing. We need to provide the de-radicalization programs for those who have been brainwashed into terrorism. Okay, and at this juncture, what are we going to do through the SARC? SARC is already non-existent, right? So it has been suspended for a long time. And BIMSTEC is which through we are engaging the other countries in the neighborhood. This Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral Technical Economic Cooperation, BIMSTEC. So because Pakistan is not there in BIMSTEC, we are collaborating through the BIMSTEC and conversing with the neighboring countries. Maybe that we can take forward, and we can highlight the issue of this radicalization in the neighborhood and what steps have to be taken. And we need to help Sheikh Hasina, right, bring her government back. So that thing we need to do, right? So these are all some of the points. So the next thing, the next article, it is with respect to the healthcare, right? So universal health coverage, so it's being provided by Jan Arogya Yojana. So it works to reduce the out of pocket expenditure right? So it covers pre-hospitalization, post-hospitalization, drugs, diagnostics, all these things. So the main aim is to reduce the out-of-pocket expenditure, right? And WHO's One Health approach. One Health approach is nothing but it highlights the interconnection between human health, animal health, environmental health. The intersection of all the three is crucial, right? So we need to have a One Health approach. We must not, artificially promote the antibiotics which are meant for humans. You can't use it as a growth promoter for your poultry or for fisheries and all. That and all will result in antimicrobial resistance, and apart from that it will result in bioaccumulation, biomagnification, all these problems, right? And increase in zoonotic diseases. So accelerated by climate change as well as due to other reasons, zoonotic diseases like Nipah, rabies, all these things are increasing, right? So the One Health framework, it promotes this integrated disease surveillance also. So this is being done under NHM also, integrated disease surveillance program, right? So that we are already doing. So we want to collaborate, coordinate with the MOEFCC, Ministry of Animal Husbandry, Fisheries, as well as Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, so that we can implement it, right? So data driven healthcare, how it is going to be helpful, all that is there, right? Examples they have given, for example, this Poshan Tracker portal is there. So you would have heard of Poshan Abhiyan. Currently Poshan Abhiyan 2.0 is happening, under which nutrition is being provided to certain demographics, the children, the pregnant lactating women and all. So which beneficiary is receiving which, all these things, in real time it is getting updated onto the Poshan Tracker portal. So we are tracking how effective implementation of this scheme is. So they are using, like that we can create the data analytics, sharing of the data across different verticals, so that data is not restricted to silos, right? When siloization of data happens, then it's a problem, right? So we need to have this setup where the data can freely communicate across the different ministries, so that it will help in better create a synergy between the ministries, help in implementing the scheme, right? So what are the challenges in digital health transformation? One thing, lack of infrastructure. Another thing, what if the data gets breached and the data is sold in the dark web and all? So that is one thing, cyber security. Another thing, digital literacy. So patients and all, if they want to enter their data into an online portal, they need to be digitally aware. So digital literacy campaigns. Interoperability issues. So once again I told you, different portals are run by different ministries for different schemes, right? If they are going to have an interoperable user interface or interoperable API, then it will help in the data seamlessly flowing across the different verticals, right? And we need to have proper regulatory framework regarding the data, regarding the IT Act and all. So IT Act also, it's under the process of getting modernized. So soon it will be, Digital India Act will be there, right? So Personal Data Protection Act we are having. So Digital India Act, soon it will be launched. So Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission. So this you would have heard, under which we are creating the digital infrastructure, so that Ayushman Health ID for every citizen who is there from the vulnerable sections, right? Based on the socio-economic caste census, the excluded households, they are selected and they are given the health insurance, right? So more than nearly 60 crore individuals, nearly 15 crore families are covered. So all that digitized data, the patient records and all, they are digitized and it will be stored in the cloud under Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission. So all these things they are doing. Okay. Telemedicine, you would have heard e-Sanjeevani, OPD and all is there. So telemedicine also they are providing, right, through the internet to the hard to reach areas, in the village areas where the specialists are less. So e-Sanjeevani is there, e-Sanjeevani OPD is there. So you must know the difference, right? e-Sanjeevani is where you go to the primary health center, and in the primary health center they will put a video call to the expert who is there in the district hospital or in the multi-specialty hospital in the cities. e-Sanjeevani OPD is, you download the app, you yourself in your home, you will go into the app, set up a video call with the doctor. That is e-Sanjeevani OPD, right? So artificial intelligence in healthcare, it can be used, predictive analytics and all, and even DNA based healthcare, that is creation of custom medicines, right? So DNA based healthcare, that also they are working, right? Precision medicine, so that's also happening. Global initiative on digital health, that is there, so it's there by the WHO, right? So this mission is for what? Is to create a digital public infrastructure, the best practices, standards and all, they will check which country has the best digital public infrastructure in the healthcare. So that thing can be shared with the other members. So that's the global initiative on digital health, right? So global strategy on digital health, it's their collaboration. That is what, as I said, sharing the best practices. So any country has a very good digital public infrastructure, then the thing can be shared, right? It needs to be made open source. Only then the other countries, whether maybe it's developing or least developed countries, can implement them, right? So action framework, develop the policies, resource integration, creation of the financial, technical, human resources, proper trained resource, helping the countries, maybe technology transfer, financial aid, all these things, ensure effective, equitable, sustainable interventions. All these things are there under the global strategy, right? So use of global practices, India is implementing them to create a strong and responsible inclusive healthcare system, right? So the next article, it is regarding the capital expenditure. So capital expenditure, you know that if the government is promoting the capital expenditure, maybe through a expansionary fiscal policy, then what will happen is more spending will be there, more infrastructure we will create, roads, highways, pipelines, railways, all these things. So it will stroke the consumption, it will stroke the need, it will increase the GDP, it will increase employment, right? But if a government is spending lot of money, then what happens is, beyond a particular thing, all the loans and all the banks will give to the government only. So it will what will happen is, the private sector will find it difficult to get the loans. So it's a balancing act. Okay, so 3.4 percentage of the GDP the government is spending on capital expenditure, right? So it's a balancing act. One aside, the government will definitely spend, see, 3.4% of GDP is nearly 11 lakh crore. So 11 lakh crore worth of projects when we are launching, there'll be demand, right, for electricity, for coal, for steel, all these things will increase, for concrete, all these things, building materials, all these things. It will create a lot of employment. So it will stroke the GDP, increase the income, all these things. At the same time, an optimum level is needed so that the private sector, they'll get the access to loans, and that banks will have enough money which they can give to the private sector also. Okay, so that is the thing. When the government is doubling down on capex, if it is spending money, it will give the confidence to the private sector that yes, this government is willing to spend, so let us also, this will improve the economy, so let us take advantage of that. So that is what is given here. Okay, so capex basic concepts, I guess you already know easily. It's given in Shankar Ganesh book also, it's there in your NCERT's Fundamental of Macroeconomics book. It's nothing but funds which are spent on acquiring, maintaining, upgrading physical assets like infrastructure, machinery, buildings, all these things, right? So this only will promote the long term growth. It will boost the employment, boost the GDP, maybe boost exports, right? It will ensure that projects are getting implemented. It will provide growth, and in order to better use the resources, there will be improvement in technology, efficiency, all these things, right? So 11 lakh crore is going to be spent, 3.4 percentage of GDP. And already, in order to increase the capex, some other schemes are there. The production linked incentive scheme, where if you make sales above a particular threshold per month, right, the government will give you cash incentives, tax rebates, all these things, right? So PLI is there for certain sectors, nearly 13-14 sectors. For example, electrical vehicles, there is a PLI for electric vehicle, that is battery architecture infrastructure, battery architecture manufacture. So high quality battery, if you are going to manufacture, and if you make a sales above a particular threshold, you will be given the tax rebate, cash incentives and all. So this will bring down the cost and you will make more profit. So this profit you will reinvest it once again. So this is the idea behind PLI scheme. National infrastructure pipeline, that only is called as Mission Gati Shakti. So Mission Gati Shakti is to promote the infrastructure development across the country, whether it is going to be roads, railways, oil pipelines, power plants, all these things they are doing. And another thing, to promote the capex, right, corporate tax cuts. So we have reduced the corporate income tax, and in order to promote saving and spending, the government has also now reduced the income tax also up to 12 lakh rupees per annum. Whoever is earning up to 12 lakh rupees, no need to pay any income tax. So the government hopes that this money will be spent on buying the new things, right? So Make in India is there to promote the domestic manufacturing. So Make in India is there in different sectors, like for example Make in India in defense, like that. So many are there. Single window clearance, ease of doing business plat, all these things are being implemented, right? So these are all some of the ways in which the government is promoting the investments in capital expenditure. And challenges in increasing capex. Challenges in increasing capex is, it can cloud out, it will crowd out the private investment if private don't have a chance to get the loan, because all the government is all the loans are taken by the government. So that is one challenge, right? And at the same time, capex, it depends, right? The private also, apart from this, they'll also have a look at the global economic scenario, right? Different things are happening in the globe, across the globe, so that can have an impact. The weakening rupee, that can have an impact, right? So the government itself, it is, it can have certain problems like fiscal constraints, all these things. So these are all some of the things that are there as challenges. Okay, so you can just go through it. Geopolitical tensions, rising interest rates, supply chain disruptions, we've seen that, right? For example, take the case of rare earth minerals, right? So China, which has huge amount of rare earth minerals, they can, decide to cut off the export. So this can cause problems. China has huge amount of rare earth minerals, they are having critical minerals, and if China is not going to export it, then the countries which are dependent on China for the supply chain, they'll have problems. And these rare earth minerals, or these critical minerals, they are needed for the next generation of industrialization, whether it is semiconductor manufacturing chips, or whether it is going to be solar panels or batteries, all these things, you need rare earth as well as the critical minerals, right? So that is one issue. That is why we are also having certain initiatives, supply chain resilience initiative, India Australia critical mineral partnership, then under the US also we are part of the strategic mineral partnership, all these things, right? Policy gaps. So we need to ensure that the policy whatever we are creating, that addresses the needs of the industry in the current scenario, right? And some implementation, land acquisition delay, all this you would have seen. Big projects, a lot of them are held up because of land acquisition, all these problems, right? So way forward, you need to provide access to credit to the MSMEs, promote the land, labor, taxation policies. As I said, indirect tax policies like GST. How many slabs can you have? 5 slab of GST is very inefficient. Maybe 3 slabs, 6%, 12%, 18%. Whatever the product you have, only this. That will reduce the cost of accounting, right? And simply you can't shuffle between this percentage, that percentage. Keep it normal, keep it like this, and then that's what various countries do. That will signal that you are business friendly, you are open for doing business, like that. Focusing on sector specific incentives. So this the government is doing, expanding PLI schemes to emerging sectors, even sector specific PM E-Drive scheme to promote the electric vehicles alone. So that and all they are doing. Enhancing the financing options through real estate investment trust, infrastructure investment trust, green bonds, all these things are there. But recently you would have seen in the news, sovereign green bonds, the demand has fallen. People are not willing to forego the loss in interest rate. Green bond usually will have a less interest rate, but only thing is that you will have the satisfaction that if you buy the green bond, the money is being used for sustainable development, maybe solar power plant or something like that, afforestation, something like that. The thing is that the sovereign green bond, it offers less interest rate, so people are not willing to forego that 0.5 or 1% interest. So this is one problem. And infrastructure investment trust, you would have heard, it's like your see, infrastructure investment trust, there will be one fund promoter, that person will take the money from the people and it will be invested in the infra projects, roads or pipelines or whatever. Okay, and if I'm constructing I'll take the money from the public, I'll construct the road, highway, 100 kilometers long, I get the right to toll, and from this toll I will earn the income. From that income only I'll give the interest or dividend or whatever to the public. So that is what infrastructure investment trust is. It will invest in different types of infrastructure projects, roads, ports, pipelines, power plants, all these things, right? So read about them. Infrastructure investment trust is there, real estate investment trust is there. These are all new ways in which you are getting the money to finance the high capex initiatives, right? Creating highway is not cheap, right? Strengthening the public-private partnership, yes, a lot of metro projects and all, it's currently done under PPP model only. Okay, so all these things are there. Streamlining project execution, you need to minimize delay, optimize it. At the same time, you need to ensure quality also, ensure investor confidence, right? Retrospective taxation, that is bad. Bureaucratic hurdle like red tapeism, all that is bad. So that's why single window clearance, faceless processing, right? The officer should not know you personally, else then it can result in quid pro quo, corruption, all these problems. So those things will help. So the next thing, right? Minimum support price. So the next article you would have heard, right? Minimum support price. It's being given for nearly 23 items, right? Oil seeds, pulses, cereals, cash crops, all these things, right? So it is nothing but the government guaranteed price to help the farmers. If the price is going to fall below the MSP, farmer can sell it to the government at MSP, so he knows, right, what rate I can get for my produce. So it will give confidence to the farmer that okay, I can go for the sowing of this particular seed, because I know that I'm going to get this much price for the crop per quintal. Okay, so MSP. So MSP will provide the safety net to the farmers. It is fixed by the CACP, Commission for Agriculture Costs and Prices, under the Ministry of Agriculture, Farmers Welfare. It's announced before the sowing season, right? So the thing is that though MSP is there for the 23 crops, not every crop is covered. In practice, I'm saying, if every 1 quintal of crop that is produced covered under MSP, not every farmer gets access under MSP. Beyond a particular percentage, the Food Corporation of India will say that like we have procured enough under the MSP for the buffer stock. Beyond that, we don't have the need, we don't have the infrastructure to store them. So don't think that MSP is there for the 23 crops, so every farmer will get the MSP. It once again depends on supply, demand, all these things. If excessive crops are stored, the FCI will try to reduce its procurement. Okay, that is why there is no legal guarantee for MSP, because if you give a legal guarantee, then every farmer can demand you buy it from me for the MSP. If such a thing is going to happen, if the government is unable to buy because of excess supply, they can go to court and say that MSP is a legal right. They can put a case against the government and say that these people are violating the law, and then the court will order compensation for the farmer. The government doesn't want this fiasco to happen. That is why they don't want to give law for MSP. So MSP, they are doing it like a charitable venture only. Okay, so it provides income security, price stabilization, protection against market fluctuation, encourages production, all these things. But a lot of criticisms are there for MSP, because majorly rice and wheat, they get the MSP, and they are saying that this has promoted the conventional agriculture, unsustainable agriculture. People have started growing only the rice and wheat. Repeatedly monoculture is happening, right? Oil seeds, pulses and all, people are not cultivating enough. And in the Punjab, Haryana regions where the rainfall is less, because of the availability of water, 5 rivers are there. There used to be good groundwater levels. And because of that, people are now, they have overdone the cultivation of wheat. Okay, rice and all was never meant to be grown there. Now they are doing the rice cultivation in the Kharif season. In the winter season, they are doing the wheat. So rice is a water intensive crop. Such a crop can't be grown in a semi-arid area like Punjab, Haryana, right? Because of the groundwater and availability of rivers, this type of unsustainable cultivation has been promoted. Now we can't continue that, right? That is why we try to bring in the farm laws and all, but because of farmers' protest, we have withdrawn it also. So what is MSP? All that you have to know. And why are the farmers protesting? They want a legal backing for MSP, and another thing is that they want to fix it according to the MS Swaminathan formula. So you have to know what is the MS Swaminathan formula. Okay, MS Swaminathan formula, it will create a huge fiscal burden on the government. Okay, if the government is going to implement the MS Swaminathan formula for MSP, huge amount of money the government has to pay for the farmers. So that is why they are also hesitant to implement it. Okay, so know all these things, what is the benefit, right, of MSP, all these things. Now another alternative is minimum income support. That is, the government will give some subsidy to the farmer every year. Already we are doing this, right? PM Kisan scheme. You are a landowning farmer, means you will be given some money. Okay, 6,000 rupees per year. That is an example of minimum income support. So this is also direct subsidy only to the farmer. So already we are having minimum income support. So on one side we are providing minimum income support, on the other side we are providing MSP. Okay, so you know what are the benefit of minimum income support: poverty alleviation, protection against crop failure, rural economic growth, investment, income security, all these things, story you can write. Advantages of shifting from MSP to MISC, this we can't do it whole, right? There are what, agriculture, farmers, right? 60% of the population is engaged in farming. Okay, and how can you give money to that many people? And the question will come whether agricultural laborers will be included, whether only landowning farmers will be included. All these things can come. So you must be aware of all these things, right? We can't simply go for expansionary fiscal policy, result in inflation, currency will get weakened, foreign investors will lose confidence. We can't have a Pakistan like situation. Okay, so shifting from MSP to MIS, what are the advantages? You can say direct benefit transfer, reduced market distortion, because MSP is given crop wise. Here you simply give the money just because that person is a farmer. So reduced market distortion, it encourages crop diversification, because based on supply and demand, farmer will now cultivate. One of the reasons why rice and wheat alone got procured more is we concentrated on food security. Now we have excess, so now we need to worry about nutrition security, right? So these are some of the advantages. So good examples of MIS, even China they are doing, US they are doing. Okay, in India, PM Kisan, as I told you, that is an example of the MIS, right? Minimum income support. So PM Kisan, now initially PM Kisan was given for small marginal farmers. Now they are giving to every farmer, anyone who is a land holding. Okay, after the 2024, just before the 2024 election, they made it any farmer. This is the old data. They are saying that only small and marginal farmer, that has been expanded to cover every farmer. Now they are giving to every farmer. Remember that. Only the PM Kisan Mandan Yojana is still limited to landholding farmers who are having up to 2 hectares, that is small and marginal. Only PM Kisan Mandan Yojana is limited to that, which is a pension scheme for the farmers. This thing has been expanded to every farmer. Okay. So the next article, if you see, it is with respect to the India-US nuclear deal, right? So India-US nuclear deal, it happened long back, that 123 agreement and all. In 2005 it was signed, then we got the NSG waiver and all. Okay, in 2008 it was started to be codified and all. But the thing is that under this act or under this deal, lot of progress has not been made, in the sense that people thought that after the India-US nuclear deal was signed, US investment will happen in the nuclear sector in India. This has not yet happened. Of course, the India-US nuclear deal, the 123 agreement, the waiver and all, it has helped us in getting access to the reactor technology, get access to the nuclear fuel, all these things. But Russia has taken advantage of that, and they are doing it. But even Barack Obama, he told when he was the president that Westinghouse will build some reactors in India and all. But anyway, the progress has been minimal, not much has happened. Main reason why, because it is with respect to the liability only. So India's nuclear liability law, what it says is the supplier of the nuclear device will be held responsible for a mishap. But world over, what they are saying is it is only the operator who will have the liability. But India is very firm, especially after the Warren Anderson Union Carbide case. We want to hold the foreign supplier liable. Okay, so as of now, with respect to nuclear liability, the supplier is held liable. So they are saying that is why US companies and all, they don't want to invest in India in the nuclear sector because they find it very risky. What if some disaster happens? Then that Westinghouse or General Electric, whoever the company, they will be held responsible. They don't want that issue. Okay, and however, the author is pointing out that recently the small modular reactor, micro reactor and all, the India is willing to create. So small modular reactor up to 300 megawatt they wish to create, and in this they want to involve the private sector, and they are open to the foreign collaboration also. So the author is saying that in that the US has a lot of hope and potential for going into that thing and start producing the small modular reactor. And the author is saying that with Donald Trump at the helm, so he will be more interested, more proactive in the trade deals and all regarding the nuclear power. So that is what the author is saying. Time is right to seize this promise. And he is also highlighting that this nuclear power, it is a very clean power. It does not emit the carbon dioxide. So it will help in the net zero targets, climate change and all. That is what he is saying. Okay, so 123 agreement signed in 2008, integration of India into the global nuclear order despite us not signatory to the NPT, right? So non-proliferation treaty, they said that it was signed in the 1970s. Only those 5 countries which already had the nuclear weapon, they only will have the nuclear weapon, and no new person should acquire the nuclear weapon. So India thought that it is nuclear apartheid, so they did not sign it. But because we didn't sign it, access to the nuclear technology, nuclear fuel and all, nobody gave it. So we were finding it very difficult. So because of the 123 agreement and the NSG waiver, despite not being a signatory of NPT, we still get access to the civilian nuclear technology. Okay, so these are the things, right? So not only with the US, with Russia, France and all, we have the nuclear agreements. Okay, what is the reason for limited progress? Even France or US, limited progress is because huge amount of investment is needed. Other renewable alternatives like solar and all has got the more thing. The people and all are angry. They are afraid of nuclear power. It's an election issue. It becomes an election issue. A lot of politicians and all, they want to, they are against this nuclear power, especially after Fukushima incident of 2011 and all. Okay, and the thing is, another important thing, it is mainly with respect to the liability. The supplier is being held liable, so that is the big problem. Okay, so opportunities, right? Now maybe with small and modular reactor, micro reactor and all, the collaboration potential is there where US can supply it, private sector can supply it. So that is what the author is highlighting. So now that the US civil nuclear collaboration, maybe the US companies and all will invest here. That is his hope. Okay, so with respect to the US, right, US they want to ensure that China does not become excessively dominant. China already having the causing lot of global macroeconomic problems, and US is trying to counter China through sanctions, all these things. Okay, so one of the things is US might want to prop up India against China. So in such a situation, things will be a little bit in favor of India. So the author is saying that it is the right time for promoting this cooperation in the nuclear sector. The next thing, it is with respect to the UNFCCC. Mr. Donald Trump, the president of US, he has once again withdrawn from the UNFCCC, and he has also withdrawn certain targets which the erstwhile Biden regime implemented, like by 2030 half of all the cars to be sold in US will be electric cars. Those things and all has been withdrawn. Now with the US withdrawal, people are worried that lack of enough funds will be there. Other countries will now become lethargic. They will hesitate to fall through with respect to their enhanced nationally determined contributions. And already whatever pledge that the countries have done under the NDC, it's not enough for us to limit the temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius. Already 1.5 degrees Celsius increase compared to the pre-industrial level has happened. Now the thing is that already the enhanced NDC itself is not enough. Now US is also withdrawn. Now it's probably we are on track for a 3 to 4 degree rise in temperature by 2000, and anything above 2 is going to be catastrophic. Okay, the rise in sea level, the heat waves, cold waves, increase in the heavy downpour, right? That will increase. The number of rainy days will come down, but the intensity of rainfall will increase. So this will cause what? Soil erosion. It will cause flooding. All these problems. Okay, so that is what the article is stressing on. With Trump going out, now it's going to be a uphill task for ensuring climate justice, right? So Paris Climate Agreement. So the background, COP21 in Paris 2015. Aim is to reduce the global greenhouse gas emissions, limit the global warming and all. So in the best case scenario, reduce it to 1.5 degrees Celsius, worst case below 2 degrees Celsius. But currently we are on track for a 3 to 4 degrees Celsius increase in temperature. And you would have seen in the various reports, at least $8 trillion is needed, okay, by 2030. In the next 5 years, at least $8 trillion. 8 trillion means 8,000 billion dollars is needed for the climate related mitigation and adaptation strategies, if we are to meet the 1.5 degree target under Paris, because the window for emission of carbon dioxide is very less now. It is around 420 parts per million, and this thing is rapidly increasing. You compare it with the pre-industrial level, only 200 parts per million was there. Now it is more than doubled. And if we are not going to spend this $8 trillion, if the developed countries are not going to help in technology transfer, implementation and all, then it's going to be a big problem. Why we were once again saying developed country is because they are responsible for the legacy emissions. Of course, the ill effect of climate change will not respect the national boundaries or who is responsible and all. Every country is going to get affected. So even the developing nations, they have to do it out of their own volition, that we need to do the climate mitigation activities. But developed countries have a responsibility, because of their unbridled growth only the world has become affected, right? So key provisions, all these things, limiting it to 1.5 degrees Celsius, NDC, climate finance, $100 billion per year by 2020. So every year they are to give 100 billion, but it has not yet come. So 2021 100 billion they should have given, 2022 100 billion they should have given. There is no clear data telling that they have given this 100 billion, right? Adaptation, loss and damage. So a lot of countries are vulnerable. So you, like for example, small island developing states, recently one of the islands of Panama, already it is sinking, and some of the people have been shifted to mainland Panama from that island. Okay, so it's a first affected country, right? And Indonesian capital from Jakarta to Nusantara, why they have shifted? Once again, because Jakarta is facing the sea level problem. Maldives is expected to go under the sea. All these are issues, right? So transparency and monitoring, every 5 years they will update it, monitor it. Okay, and another important thing, enhanced NDC. So it's called as ratcheting mechanism. Every 5 years you have to enhance your NDC. That is why 2021 COP26 Glasgow, we have enhanced the NDC. Original NDC given in COP21 Paris 2015. So the ratcheting mechanism under the Paris Agreement, we have enhanced it in Glasgow. So COP26, so Mission Panchamrit, those 5 targets, all these things we have seen, right? So national carbon quota goals. See, this national carbon quota goals is nothing but specific targets. So under the enhanced NDC, we are having specific targets. What are they? Net zero by 2070, reducing the emission intensity as a percentage of GDP by 45% compared to 2005, right? Ensuring 50% of the power from non-fossil fuel sources, ensuring 500 gigawatt of renewable energy, additional sequestration of 1 billion tons of CO2. Already 2 to 3 billion tons of CO2 equivalent we have promised to sequester by 2030. Now additional 1 billion tons. These are all what is called as the enhanced NDC. Each one of these is called as carbon quota goal. So net zero by 2070 is one carbon quota goal. So we are having 5 such things under the enhanced NDC. Okay. NFPT, Nationally Focused Pledges and Targets, is just not another name for the NDC, Nationally Determined Contribution. Okay, so these nationally determined contributions, so we have given them, right? So under the NFPT, we will have each target. That each target is called as NCQG. Okay, be careful. So what are the limitations? It's a voluntary only, right? And there's no binding commitment and all. And political will needs to be there. People need to contribute. See, I have enough money. I have my own house. I need to plant trees. It's my responsibility. I need to ensure rainwater harvesting. I need to have a well. I need to put the solar panels. It should be my responsibility. People should take ownership. People should take responsibility and do something. Right? You can't simply tell, government should do, government should do, government should do. Government will say developed country should do, developed country should do, developed country should do. Nobody is going to do when when we face the music, when downpour is falling on your head, or if earthquake is going to come, or sea level is going to rise, your house is going to get washed away. Will this blame game work? Now thing is that it won't. That's why we need to do something. Individuals, if we are rich enough, we need to do something, right? We're not giving money to others. You put the solar panel, you will only get the benefit. No need to pay electricity bill. You save the water, your groundwater level will increase. You can plant the trees, all these things. You will only benefit, right? So that is the thing. Now US has withdrawn from it. What will be the impact? Global impact, reduced global commitment, scaling back by other nations. All these things are some negative consequences, right? Now other thing, the next article, once again it is regarding the MSP only, right? So here already the farmers are fighting, right, to get the legal thing for MSP, and they want the government to give the payment based on the MS Swaminathan formula. Okay, that's what is called as C2 plus 50%, right? So whatever cost plus 50% they are asking. Okay, that's a very high money. Government is unwilling to give, and all these protests and all happening. Red Fort protest, they are bordering the Delhi, they are covering it, causing the problem to the commuters. They are protesting there. All these issues are there. Okay, now the idea is we need to promote sustainable farming. This type of conventional agriculture only based on MSP, only growing the the wrong crop in the wrong place. Punjab, Haryana, they have done enough. They should no longer cultivate rice. They should cultivate oil seeds and pulses in the Kharif season. Somehow this should be done. But unfortunately, the media which should do this campaign, they are not doing, right? Everyone has their own vested interest. So in all of this, who is getting affected? It is the environment that is getting affected. Salinization, the poor people, they will get affected, right? So farmer organizations, they all want this charter. So you can see loan waiver, right? Who cares about what happens to the fiscal deficit? Loan waiver. Pension scheme. So you need to give pension for the farmers above 60 years. Give them pension, right? Legal guarantee for MSP, right? Input subsidies. You have to support for seeds. You have to fertilizers, pesticides, everything support. Land reforms. You have to protect the ownership and prevent the acquisition of property, right? Irrigation facilities, expand and improve infrastructure. These are all demands made by the farmers, right? Market reforms. You have to strengthen agriculture market. So you would have heard Mandi is there, ENAM is there. You want to strengthen it. Agri infrastructure development. Invest in storage, transportation, processing. This is happening, right? Warehouse development schemes are there. Agriculture infrastructure schemes are there. AIF is there. Agriculture infrastructure fund is there, in which cold storage, warehouse, and all they are constructing, right? And even against the warehouse receipt, loans are all being given in the subsidized rate. Education and awareness. Now this Kisan Sakhis and all have been trained, right? So Kisan Sakhis will provide the awareness to the farmers regarding the queries that they have, take the government initiatives to the farmer, right? PM Kisan Mandan Yojana is there for the small marginal farmers. The pension after 60 years, 3,000 will be given if you pay the monthly premium, right? PM Kisan money given 6,000 for all landowning farmers. right? Already price stabilization fund and all is there. You might have heard of PM Asha, Annadatta Aay Sanrakshan Mahabhiyan. So under that PM Asha, already the price stabilization fund and all is there. Okay, so price stabilization fund is if the money is going to the price of the article is falling rapidly, okay, or if massive hoarding is happening and the price for the end customer is increasing. So price stabilization fund will ensure that they will purchase it from the farmer and sell it at the low rate to the end user, that is to the customer, so that the price will be good price for the farmer also and economical price for the customer also. For that, price stabilization fund is there. It's done for the important crops, tomato, onion, all these things they are doing price stabilization fund. It's one of the component under PM Asha, so please study it. Annadatta Aay Sanrakshan Yojana, PM Asha, study it. Okay, so research and development, ICAR is there, so many institutes are there, right? So they are also doing the research development and all. Environmental sustainability, so we are having schemes, right, for organic farming, sustainable farming, zero budget natural farming, that BPKP scheme, Bharatiya Prakritik Krishi Paddhati, our what is that scheme? I'm not able to recall. Very famous, right? RGKY, what is the name? Rashtriya, not able to recall. I'll let you know, right? So environmental sustainability, for that once again Paramparagat Krishi Vikas Yojana, yes, right. So Paramparagat Krishi Vikas Yojana, that is there. NPOP is there, National Program on Organic Production, right? So NPOP scheme is there, Paramparagat Krishi Vikas Yojana is there, cluster based program for organic farming, that is there. Jaivit Ketki portal is there for selling the organic produce. All these things are there, but once again, ensuring that this thing is done in a legal manner for every farmer is going to be difficult. When 60% of the population is involved in agriculture, that is difficult. That is what the demand is, right? So what are the positive consequences of legal MSP? Reduce the agrarian distress, income stability, investment encouraged, market price stabilization, supports food security, all these things. But once again, we already don't have agriculture income tax also. Now, how much subsidy we can give? It will distort the trade, right? You would have heard under the WTO, amber box subsidy and all, it is there. Amber box subsidy means that de minimis level, 10%. That much only subsidy we can give. Beyond that we are giving means it will distort the trade. Then WTO will put sanction against that, fine against us. It will cause huge problem, right? So these are all trade distorting subsidies. Whatever we are discussing, giving the money to the farmer is trade distorting. So 10% is the developing country de minimis level under WTO. If it goes above that, you are going to be coming under sanctions, right? So negative consequences. What are the negative consequences? That's what I'm saying. Trade breach under WTO, de minimis level breach will happen, and you will promote all this. You won't promote the farmer to learn anything. Everything will be taken care of, right? He will get the money regardless. He'll get free pension. He'll get free income. He'll get MSP. Everything he'll get. He doesn't have to do anything except cultivation. He will not upgrade himself. He will not understand the market. He will not get the digital literacy. He won't do any effort except working. That will cause environmental challenge, right? You need to be in tune with the changed environment, right? This will reduce the incentive to the farmer for changing, to learn, upskill, nothing, right? Market distortion, it will cause food inflation, heavy financial burden, that is it. Fiscal deficit, right? We are having a decent fiscal deficit now. It's on a downward glide path. It will increase. Already we are giving that what is that, UPI, right? Not UPI, UPS, Unified Pension Scheme, right? From NPS we are moving to the UPS. Already a little bit more financial burden will be there. Now this will increase it further, right? So legal MSP WTO agreement, so you would have heard it, amber box classification, exceeding the de minimis level of 10%. So they'll put a case, right? Understand what these things are, right? Different types of subsidies are there under the WTO, right? Amber box subsidy, you might have heard of other types of subsidy also, right? Blue box, all these things you need to know what it is. Okay, so what are the different types of agricultural subsidy under the WTO, you have to know. Okay, so blue box, green box, all these things, okay, study it. So these are the things, right, under WTO agreement on agriculture. So you are having different types of subsidies. Market access, you have to replace quota with the tariffs and reduce the tariff also. That is conversion of non-tariff barrier into tariff barrier and reduction in the tariff barrier. That is the thing, right? Phasing out of the excessive subsidies, right? Categorization of subsidies, amber box, blue box, green box, all these things. So amber box is one which will distort the trade, right, like MSP, all these things. So anyway, still we are giving the MSP, income support we are providing, Fasal Bima Yojana, crop insurance we are providing. Okay, crop diversification we are trying it, sustainable cultivation, pitch on organic farming, empowering the farmer producer organization, getting them credit through the primary agriculture credit societies, regional rural banks, all these things we are doing. For infrastructure, we are having agriculture infrastructure development fund, AIF is there. Under that we are promoting the storage, cold storage, right, food processing enterprises, all these things we are promoting, loans and all, right. That is the thing. And the next article, right, I think some of the things we've already seen. It's regarding critical minerals, right. China has lot of critical minerals, whether it is beryllium, hafnium, gallium, tungsten, silicon, germanium, all these things are needed for the next generation industrial revolution. Next industrial revolution, it's needed. All these things will be used in next generation technologies, semiconductor chips or solar panels, batteries, all these things will be used. And China can prevent the export of these commodities, and already they have done it. They can put the embargo on the export. Now this will cause huge problem to every other country, including India. That is why we have joined, I already told you, India, US, under the US we are having this critical mineral partnership. Under with Australia we have signed this strategic critical mineral partnership agreement, right. And we are trying to mine the critical minerals and all, but not much activity. Recently you would have heard tungsten. The tungsten mining in the Tamil Nadu, after the protest the government withdrew it. Remember the Mines and Mineral Development Regulation Act, what is it saying? Critical mineral, major mineral and all will be auctioned by the central government. And this is tungsten, germanium, all that is critical mineral, it will be auctioned by the central government. Okay, only the minor mineral can be auctioned by the state government, like for example sand. Okay, so even lithium was discovered in Jammu Kashmir, but people are not interested in coming forward. One thing is, see, this mining and all is environmentally destructive. That is the first thing. It will pollute the surrounding area. People will protest. It will become a huge issue. And Sterlite got closed. Now this tungsten thing against Vedanta, once again it got closed. So people are not willing. No company is willing to invest billions of dollars and still get the brickbat, and they'll be labeled as polluters. They'll be labeled as killers of people. Nobody wants to do that. So that is the only thing. So there is one organization called as Kabil, Khanij Bidesh India Limited. The main job of Kabil is to sign the agreements with the countries abroad. Maybe in the lithium triangle region of South America, we will get the agreement, get access to a particular mine. From there we can mine the thing and we can use it for our purpose. So such things Kabil is doing. So we can outsource the mining to some other country. Now once again, that is what the developed countries are all doing. They call it as neo-colonialism and all. Right, in Africa you go to a poor country, you get the mining contract, you mine there, those people will die. So once again, that is the problem with respect to the choice of lifestyle that we are living, right, or it's unsustainable. Okay, so that is the thing that the author is mentioning. So a lot of people are not showing the interest in mining, and the author is saying that one way to improve and make the private sector interested is giving them some sort of cash incentive. If for example he is saying that for mining 1000 rupees it will cost for the company, maybe government can give 500 rupees to the company. Remaining 500 rupees, of course the government, the private can then bring it. Okay, so in this way upfront you give some money to the private will be confident that okay, let us start the mining, we already have 500, another 500 we will bring in. Eventually once the sales and all starts and enough money has been made, maybe then the private can repay it in the form of a subsidized loan to the government. So like that he has given some model. So he has suggested that. So maybe that can be done so that the private will come and start mining. So you know, right, lot of strategic minerals, it's there in China only, so vulnerable to the supply chain disruption. So government's initiative Kabil, we have seen, Mine Mineral Development Regulation Act, that also we know, right. What are critical minerals needed for the next generation industrialization, next generation technology, right? We have already seen, subject to the supply risk, so geopolitical risk is there. These are all the critical minerals. Some 30 minerals are there: beryllium, bismuth, cobalt, tungsten, germanium, hafnium, all these things. Just go through it. The next thing, it is with respect to Donald Trump's inauguration, right? He said that he will put the tariffs in the various countries like China. He even threatened India, he threatened Mexico, Canada, and all. And recently, you might have heard the Colombians, they illegally entered into the country, and Donald Trump deported them back to Colombia. And Colombia showed some displeasure, and Donald Trump, in return, he said that if you show any displeasure and don't take back the illegal migrant, I will put the tariff on you. And then Colombia said that no, no, we will accept, and they came back. And same thing, our Indian illegal immigrants also, they tried to go to US. Now they have been brought back, the donkey route, DUNKI. We discussed it yesterday. So these are some of the things. So US president is he's a very good deal maker. So there will be give and take. So from India's side, we are having a trade surplus with the US, right? So we need to balance it. So they will expect us to open up our market and buy the LNG exports from US, or buy more military equipment from US. That pressure will be there. Maybe small modular reactor, we can buy those things. Okay. And India has not joined the RCEP and all, regional comprehensive economic partnership. So you might be aware that RCEP, India walked out because Chinese goods will get rerouted and get dumped into our market. Already Chinese goods are dumped here. More than $100 billion every year trade deficit is there. Now if RCEP is there, maybe 300 billion it will become. And the agriculture sector will be hugely affected, because in RCEP, Australia, New Zealand and all are there. They do the industrial dairy farming. So one milk they can supply maybe 10 rupees itself. What will happen to our farmer? Here everyone has only one cow or two cow. There they will have 10,000, 20,000 like that each farmer. So you can't compete in such an agreement. That is why we walked out of the RCEP and all. Okay. And even the other thing, IPEF is there, right? In that also we did not join the trade pillar, right? So these are some of the things we have already discussed, these points, right? India US, this thing we have already seen. IPEF trade pillar, right? Indo-Pacific Economic Forum. Under that 4 pillars are there. Trade pillar, we have just been the observer only. We have refused to join it. Once again, the problem is that dumping might happen. That is why we are worried. Okay. So what are the challenges now that Donald Trump is there? So maybe H1B issue, illegal immigration, trade and all, he will do the hard deals, those things. IP, intellectual property rights, he will be very strict. Maybe we can learn from him, and we can discuss with China to bring down the trade deficit. So that is something that we have to do. Okay. Protection versus globalization. See, in a way, Make in India scheme is there, that is promoting the domestic industries, right? Supporting them to produce more, sell it in the domestic as well as international market, earn the forex. So we are having a balanced approach only, right? So we are having the domestic export subsidy programs and all, like for example your PLI scheme. This every country does, so we are doing it. Okay. And diverging trade interests, of course India, US, every country will have a diverging trade interest only, because to each his own. Okay. So we need to ensure that our interest is going to be protected in our dealings with any person, whether it is US or whether it is going to be any other multilateral international organization. We need to safeguard our interest, right? So India doesn't like to join the RCEP, India doesn't like to join the IPEF. All that is because we will get dumped. Okay, our products, see, India directly jumped from agriculture to supply service sector, right? Directly from agriculture, primary sector, we jumped to the tertiary service sector. China jumped from primary, then secondary, then tertiary. Now, because we don't have a strong manufacturing base, we are afraid to be part of any of these supply chains, because then we will get dumped, right? So balancing the geopolitics and trade, so all these things we have to do. So what is the way forward? Bilateral agreements with US, EU, UK, modernization, trade policy reforms, focus on critical sectors like for example IP, intellectual property, digital infrastructure. So we are all doing that, right? Promoting the green technology, we are doing that, right? So the next thing it is with respect to the ending of TB, right? So 235, right? So we have done around 80 pages. So the thing with respect to tuberculosis, so India has the maximum disease burden in tuberculosis, maximum number of deaths with respect to tuberculosis. UN SDG 2030 target is there of 90% reduction in TB deaths, 80% reduction in new cases, and zero TB affected families facing catastrophic cost by 2030. We have to implement it, and we said that by 2025 itself we will implement it, but then we are facing some problems. Okay, so India's number of cases as well as deaths is highest in the world, and we are seeing the drug resistant tuberculosis and all, not only drug resistant TB, MDR TB, multiple drug resistant TB, XDR, extreme drug resistant TB, and even totally drug resistant TB, though not recognized by WHO. We have seen such cases where second line drugs are all not effective. The Mycobacterium tuberculosis, due to antimicrobial resistance, it has developed the resistance to all these drugs, and these people are now undergoing treatment through some experimental cocktail. And you might have heard that B-palm regimen, recently it was there in news, bedaquiline, protamide, that B-palm regimen, linezolid, moxifloxacin, this B-palm regimen to treat the drug resistant TB, that was there in news, study about it. Now in previously 1.5 years it used to take, now in 6 months we are able to do the treatment. Okay, so less side effect, and also B-palm regimen, study it. So National Tuberculosis Elimination Program, that is nothing but the Pradhan Mantri TB Mukt Bharat Abhiyan. So under that, we are having lot of sub schemes, like for example Niksai Posan Yojana, Niksai Mitra, right? TB volunteers, the civil society and all we are involving, so that they will provide the employment opportunity, counseling, they will provide them the good quality food they can sponsor to the TB patient. And under Nikshay Poshan Yojana, 1000 rupees we are giving every month to the TB patient, and the government also is guaranteeing the nutritious meal to the TB patients who have a very poor body mass index, right? So but the problem is that under the NHM and as well as under the TB Mukt Bharat Abhiyan, we are trying to create the TB care centers and all in every hospital, in every district. The problem is that lack of enough doctors, lack of enough TB drugs and medicines, there is a shortage. This lingering shortage has been there since the COVID time, and still shortage of medicine is there. People not having the proper access to medicine, they can't complete their treatment, the break will happen, then drug resistance will happen. Another important problem is this CB-NAT machine. So this cartridge based nucleic acid amplification testing machine, TrueNAT machine like that and all is there. Through that only they will do the diagnostic of the TB, and those machines and all need the periodic supply of cartridge. Sometimes the worker is not there, sometimes cartridge is not there, sometimes medicine is not there. All this is affecting the hampering the end TB campaign. Okay, so proper treatment facility has to be created, more money we have to spend. See, spending 2.5% of GDP on health is nothing can be done with that money. In fact, for mental health we are spending 40 crore. Imagine 1.4 billion people are there, probably at least 1/5 of them, that is 1 in 5, definitely need some mental health care. See, not telling that they are mentally ill and all, but at least some counseling is needed. The thing is that the government is spending only 40 crore on mental health, means how you can provide the mental health service to the people. So these are some of the issues, right? So even extrapulmonary TB, right? Share of extrapulmonary TB, that is TB spread to the other organs, it's around 24% of the notified cases. but to treat them you need the proper medicine. You need to first do the proper diagnosis, because extrapulmonary TB, it has the same symptom as various other diseases. So doctor has to be trained in identifying it, proper diagnosis and all. Okay, so these are some of the issues, right? We need to have the ground level workers, civil society and all in ensuring the success. We need to have a proper supply of the medicine. All these things is what is highlighted here. Okay, so Mycobacterium tuberculosis, double stranded DNA, right? It's a notifiable disease, mandatory reporting, that is you are having, right? Epidemic Diseases Act is there, and under that act and all, notifiable disease, you have to notify it as a disease, right? So National TB Elimination Program, pulmonary TB, extrapulmonary TB, drug resistant TB, all these things, you know, we have seen. What is the goal and target? 80% reduction in TB incidence, 90% reduction in catastrophic cost, right? That is the SDG. WHO end TB strategy, 90% reduction in deaths, 95% reduction in, 90% reduction in incidence, 95% reduction in death. All these things are there, but we want to achieve it by 2025 itself. But these are the problems which are highlighted, we have already discussed. The next thing you would have heard, Republic Day, chief guest was the Indonesian president. So just a brief background on Indonesia. What is the capital? Jakarta. Now they shifted to Nusantara, so you have to know that. Indonesian rupee. What are the surrounding seas? Many times they have asked. Arafura Sea, Sulawesi, right? Celebes Sea, Java Sea, Banda Sea, which is the biggest island, which is closer to India, Sumatra, Java, Bali, all these things. Recently, lot of volcanic eruption happening there. Mount Levatobi, Mount Laki Laki, all these things are erupting. So know which island is having it, where it is located. Map based question can come. Important straits, these choke points. Strait of Malacca and all is a choke point. So know where these straits are there. Use the G maps, know it. Okay. So India-Indonesia, you know, historical ties are there. Over 2000 years of shared history. Hinduism, Buddhism, Islam, all these things, right? And they played a key role in NAM also, that point also, non-alignment movement, that also you can mention. We are having the strategic partnership of 2018. Defense cooperation also, some military exercise and all is there. Weapons also some export we are doing, right? So let's go through it. And Indonesia is India's second largest ASEAN trading partner. That ASEAN 10 countries are their Association of Southeast Asian Nations. In that, Indonesia is one of the largest trading partner. Okay, so just to go through it, what are the opportunities? Shared vision of the maritime cooperation. So even Indonesia probably a little bit threatened by China because of the 9-dashed claim by China, which is you know, taking away most of the South China Sea as China's own exclusive economic zone. So the Indonesia, Vietnam, Taiwan, South Korea, Japan, Philippines, all these countries are having some you know, fear of the Chinese. So we can take advantage of that. Maybe, you know, free and open Indo-Pacific, the US initiative, in that we participate. Indonesia also can be encouraged to come under that. Okay, defense, we can sell them the weapons and all. Economic partnership, so bilateral trade, you can improve it, look for how to improve it. May oil, palm and all, we import lot from Indonesia, right? Renewable energy cooperation, so these things and all we can cooperate. So what are the challenges? Trade imbalance has to be addressed, maritime security concern, right? Counter terrorism efforts. So once again, threat of radicalization, right? Indonesia is the largest Muslim country in the world. So some places ISIS influence also is happening in Philippines, Malaysia, Indonesia and all. So these are some of the points that we have to have in mind. Okay. So the next thing, right, we will discuss about the right to life under Article 21. So this will help you in understanding a brief backdrop of important cases in which the Supreme Court verdict you know, protected the Article 21, right? So we will see one by one what are those things. So the first thing is the AK Gopalan case. Initially, you know, it was criticized because it was a narrow interpretation of the procedure established by law. It upheld the preventive detention. Menaka Gandhi case, it overruled the Gopalan, and they said that the procedure established by law will be compliant of fair, just and reasonable. Only if it is there, then we will accept the preventive detention and all. It linked the Article 21 with Article 14, right? Equality before law, equal protection of law, and Article 19, right? Puttaswamy judgment, right to privacy, fundamental right, right? So that is one important thing. So the next thing, if you see Visakha versus the state of Rajasthan, right? Women have a safe right for a safe workplace, prevention of sexual harassment in the workplace. Though that only Visakha guidelines we call, right? Common cause versus Union of India, it legalized passive euthanasia. Passive euthanasia, you would have heard, any person who is suffering the chronic illness, you will take them off life support, right? Stop keeping them alive. Person is in ventilator, the doctor will say, if you keep him in the ventilator, he will be alive, but if not, that's it, he won't be able to come back, he'll die. So it legalized passive euthanasia, right? So these are all some of the things. Right to Information Act, promoting the transparency in governance, only then the right to life will be protected, right? And another important thing you would have heard, CAA. So right to life, right to life, it applies to foreigners also. So persecuted minority is there in the Bangladesh and Pakistan and Afghanistan, right? Those countries which were part of British India, suddenly overnight, excluding Afghanistan, they became Islamic republics where the citizens by institution are treated as second class citizens, and they have nowhere to go but to come in India, because they were part of India, they were Indians only, right? Lahore belongs to India, Islamabad belongs to India, Karachi belongs to India only after 1947 suddenly it has changed hands, right? And those areas now suddenly become Islamic republic where everybody, non-Muslims, can be killed. Then we have a responsibility in ensuring that the persecuted minorities are safe in India, right? That is why CAA is there. And the Supreme Court has said that Article 21, it covers the refugees, right to life covers the refugees, and these people are getting persecuted, so it's a responsibility, right? So Right to Education Act 2009, so once again, free and free and compulsory education. So right to education, it also there under Article 21 only, right? Right for a clean environment, right to breathe the clean air, all that coming under the Article 21 only, right? So just go through them. The next thing, once again, bilateral related topic, it is with respect to the Indo-Pacific, right? So now that Donald Trump has come back, so he enabled the Pacific as Indo-Pacific, right? So he is giving that heft to India and positioning us as a counter to China. So we are part of this Quad framework. At the same time, we are part of SEO also, RATS also, and we are not part of the Belt and Road Initiative. And even Russia, China don't like us to be part of Quad. Okay, so these things are there, and there are some opportunities. In under Donald Trump's regime, he will try to uphold the free and open Indo-Pacific policy. Okay, so we have to wait and watch what happens to the 9-dash line claim of China, whether US will be willing to support the Southeast Asian countries. It may help them become more assertive against China. We have to see it. Okay, so these are some of the points. Quadrilateral security dialogue, all these things have been asked before, so that is what they are mentioning, right? So just go through it, nothing much. It's all talks about how Donald Trump wants to ensure establishment of a rules-based international order in the Indo-Pacific. And one thing that you have to note, the China's 9-dash line claim has been made illegal by the UNCLOS. UNCLOS judgment has said that it's illegal. United Nations Convention on Law of the Sea. The thing is that China has disobeyed the UNCLOS, and still they are exercising sovereignty over these areas. Recently, they crashed, the military vessel against the Philippines fishing ship and all. So you would have seen that, right? So Indo-Pacific region, right? It has lot of countries, so you can go through it. Okay. Importance of Indo-Pacific, huge economies are there, vital trade routes are there, right? A lot of strategic conflicts are there. For example, Taiwan China issue, that Ryukyu Senkaku Islands, Russia Japan issue, and this Scarborough Shoal, Paracel Spratly Island, that between China and various countries like Philippines, Malaysia, Indonesia, all these countries. Okay, freedom of navigation, the US is trying to uphold it. 9 dashed line claim struck down by UNCLOS, but still China disobeying it. US trying to promote the free and fair Indo-Pacific, so as a counter to the rise of China. So Quad needs to be seen against this backdrop, all these things, right? So we can go through it. Indo-Pacific Economic Forum, so in that also 4 pillars are there: trade, supply chain, clean energy, taxation. Of course, as we saw in the other 3 pillars, India is a member, but the first pillar on trade, we are not a member. So that is the thing, right? So like to create the best practices for promotion of the mutual interests of all these 14 countries. In this also China is not there, right? Quad, once again, it has been asked before, right? ASEAN outlook on the Indo-Pacific, AOIP, right? So UNCLOS is there, AUKUS, right? Australia, UK, US, that is again a military deal between these 3 countries. Already these 3 countries are part of the 5 Eyes initiative for sharing of intelligence. Supply chain resilience initiative, so India, Japan, Australia are part of it, where Japan started giving the subsidies to Japanese countries which are having the manufacturing plant in China. They are giving them billions of dollars to shift elsewhere. So one of the alternate destinations is India. India hoped that lot of Japanese companies will come and invest here, but many of them moved to Vietnam. So that is one thing, right? So these are all some of the initiatives in the Indo-Pacific region. So be aware of them. The La Perouse naval exercise participation is like done by France, right? It was there. You would have heard it. It was there in the news. So study all these things, all current affairs only, right? And you must remember that US itself is not part of the UNCLOS. Okay. International Seabed Authority, that also know what it is. It will give you the mining rights to areas beyond the exclusive economic zone. So India has got some extra areas to mine in the Indian Ocean after getting the application approved by ISA only, International Seabed Authority. So study these things. So what are the challenges, right? China's rise, climate change, right? Some of the things, the free trade agreements, India is not part of it. So military rule in certain countries like Myanmar, right? Some of the countries are developed, some of the countries are not developed. They are underdeveloped countries, developing countries, small island development states like South Korea, Japan and all. They are highly developed. You take say some small island, those are all once again the small island development states, right? What to say, Tonga or that Fiji, all these places, right? Some of the countries, they are developing countries like Vietnam. So a lot of different competing interests, competing levels of development, competing levels of income, all these things are there. The next article regarding the Israel-Palestine issue. So now that President Trump has come, they have signed one ceasefire agreement wherein the hostages will be sent back and Israel will send back some of the Hamas operatives, prisoners and all. Okay, so this thing will be there. Another thing, they are saying that reconstruction of Gaza, how it is going to happen. So that is something that is there in the news. Then Donald Trump proposed that US will lead the reconstruction. These things were there in the news. We need to see what's going to happen. And Iran has been weakened. That is one thing, right? Other thing is two-state solution, right? So two-state solution, not much movement is there. So whether that will happen or not, that is one question. If two-state solution is going to happen, then I guess normalization of Israel-Arab relations, except Iran, with other countries like Saudi, all those things can happen, right? So in exchange for two-state recognition, so two-state solution, recognition of Israel can happen. So these are some of the things that in the Middle East is happening. Okay, and President Trump, he wants to have a very good legacy, and he's a proactive leader. He wishes to cut deals, create deals and all. So he doesn't want unnecessary war. So maybe he will work to achieve this peace in the Middle East. If he can solve the Israel-Palestine issue, he can get the Nobel Peace Prize, right? So Trump has promised the deal of the century, wherein Saudi and Israel relations will be normalized. So that only he calls it a deal of the century, right? And at the same time resolve the Israel-Palestine conflict. So it remains to be seen what's going to happen. Okay. So the location, the demographics, the history, all these things you need to know, right? So another 100 pages are there, right? So location of Israel in the Middle East, very important. Bordering the Mediterranean Sea, Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, Egypt and all. Okay, and 2 million Palestinians, they are also there, predominantly Muslims, right? So a lot of people have been evicted from Israel. They live as refugees in other countries. So the background, be aware of it. The Zionist movement, Theodore Herzl, Balfour Declaration, right? Increased Jewish immigration in the 1920s, 40s, to be seen with the Holocaust in Europe. The UN partition plan, accepted by the Jewish leaders, rejected by the Arab leaders. 1948 declaration of the State of Israel. 1948 Arab-Israeli war, resulting in victory of Israel, and at the same time lot of Palestinians got displaced. 1967 Yom Kippur War, when Israel captured the Golan Heights. It's still under the Israel control only. Now initially they captured 2/3 of the Golan Height. Now entire Golan Height 100% under Israeli control. And even the West Bank, it is under the Israeli control only. Gaza, you are aware, right? Sinai Peninsula they have given back to Egypt. 1973 Yom Kippur War. So Egypt and Syria attacked the Israel. Eventually the peace was settled through the Camp David Accords, right? Then uprising, first Intifada, uprising against the Israeli occupation. Now this ended with the Oslo Accords, right? Then 2020 Abraham Accords, Israel normalized the relations with UAE, Bahrain, Morocco, Sudan, so under President Trump only. And 2023 Hamas attack on Israel, probably they are saying that India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor and the further strengthening of ties between the other Sunni Arab states with Israel, that only prompted the Hamas to do this attack, and it set back the relationship between Israel and these countries by decades. So Hamas thought that if these countries normalize their relations, then that's a two-state solution will never happen, and it will become impossible for them to operate. So that is why they are said to have attacked it. The next thing with respect to the debt to GDP ratio. So debt to GDP ratio of certain state governments is very bad. Some state governments it's good. So debt to GDP ratio of Orissa, Gujarat and all is a very healthy 16%, 17% like that. But in the case of Punjab, you see it has high as 46.6%. So if it is going to be very high, it's going to be a problem, right? Investors and all will never come and invest in such a place. So macroeconomic and fiscal prudence must be there. And Niti Aayog has created one thing called as Fiscal Health Index. So in current affairs they'll ask this. It's a framework for assessing the fiscal position of the states across several parameters, right? So what are the parameters? Fiscal prudence, debt index, sustainability, revenue mobilization, quality of spending, all these things. Okay. So the top performing states we have seen, some of them like Gujarat, Orissa and all, and bottom performance Punjab, right? So they are not doing that well. Andhra Pradesh is also suffering, right? Especially after the splitting up of Andhra Pradesh, they are suffering. West Bengal, Kerala, Haryana, they are also not doing good. Okay, in 2022, if you see, RBI is saying that these places are suffering, right? High debt to GDP ratio. Okay, so FRBM Act is there, Fiscal Responsibility Budget Management Act. So that has to be implemented, and the freebie in elections, especially state elections, that has to be avoided. Every state is running based on freebies only, and parties are trying to outdo each other in freebie. It's a very bad thing. 2024, people are still not educated enough. People are willingly not being educated by the media, because the media itself is owned by the different political parties, and this is creating a very toxic, vicious cycle. So that is the biggest problem here. So these are some of the things which the article highlights. So Niti Aayog's Fiscal Health Index, based on 5 indicators, fiscal prudence. So go through it, right? Top performers, bottom performers, What are the reasons why it's very bad, right? One thing is populist schemes, election issues. Freebies has become a populist election issue. Parties are outdoing each other because it's not their money, right? It's the government money. They will be generous on someone else's money, which is nothing but taxpayers' money, right? So these are some of the things. Public services and all quality is very bad because why? They are giving it for free, right? If you have free bus, how can you have the money to repair that bus? So suddenly hole will be there in bus, you will fall down, you will get killed, right? Some vehicle will run over you. So these are some of the issues if we accept everything for free. Okay, just go through it. Another thing, what are the causes of this disparity? Of course, different states, the inequality, some of the reasons are historical. Some places are landlocked, having the high mountains. Some are border states. Some are having the coastal advantage, port and all is there, so some advantage. Some are forested, so in those places certain types of development is not possible. And some places a lot more corruption is there in some other places, right? In some places, once again, too much of politicians, they have taken advantage of the system, right? So all these things only is responsible for the disparity, and this results in this migration, right? So the pull migration, push migration, all these things are happening, right? So push migration will push the person from migrating outward, not live in that area where they were born, go outside because lack of opportunities. Now that also we are seeing lot of states are putting the domicile quota and all for the jobs. So once again, that is not good. So all these things have to be addressed, else it will become problematic, right? So way forward, all these things are there. Rationalize the subsidies, focus on capital expenditure, create investor confidence, ensure discom reforms, right? People are giving power for free, and discoms are nothing but power distribution companies. These companies are owned by the state government. If you give free power, how will they have enough money to upgrade and modernize the setup, right? Then how can you have reliable power, right? The transmission and distribution loss is very high, so we can't accept those things, right? So another thing with respect to again article regarding Donald Trump, right? He has deported the people, the Colombians and all. They have deported Indians also, right? He threatened Colombia with sanctions and got it done. So all these things we already discussed, right? So deportation policies, some say that it's being done in a very strict manner. They're saying that the children can get separated. They're saying that it's dehumanizing the people, right? They chained them, like they put the handcuffs and all in the planes, like that they are saying, right? So global impact of the deportation policies. So of course some countries will be offended that it's being done in this manner. So concern for human rights, maybe some refugees will be sent back to the conflict centers. The policy of non-refoulement might be under threat. All these things are there, you can go through it, right? What is the impact on India? Some of the migrants are from India, they have come back, and of course H1B visa, the reduction is there, right? So it might hit the Indians because we only predominantly are the getting the H1B visas, Indians and Chinese. So that can cause some of the issues, right? So that is why we need to have enough technology, infrastructure, opportunities, so that our best brains, they don't go outside and they're happy to work here, right? So who's a migrant, who's a refugee? Migrant is person who is going for economic reasons. Refugee is someone who is fleeing the persecution, right? So if a refugee means, if it's identified under the UN High Commissioner for Refugees, then they are supported by the policy of non-refoulement. You must not send them back to where they can get killed again, right? So UN High Commissioner for Refugees is there. You are also having the agreements to protect the refugees, right? 1951 Convention on Refugees, 1967 Protocol to the Refugee Convention, all these things are there. But these two agreements, India is not a signatory, you have to remember that. But India adopts a case by case approach. Article 21, it supports policy of non-refoulement. It's applicable to the foreigners also, like that the court has said. Okay, so you might be aware of the foreigners tribunals, the passport act, right? then for example the CAA, the NRC, right, all these things, what is the relationship, right, how the persecuted minorities will be protected even if they enter into the country illegally, they have to stay for 5 years, they will be given the citizenship, whereas the non-persecuted minorities, if they are found out, they will be deported. So NRC will have the list of citizens, NPR will have the list of residents, and you already know who are the legal list of residents who are not citizens. So the remaining people are illegal immigrants. If they are from these 3 countries, if they are protected by the CAA, these persecuted minorities, they will be protected. The rest of them will be deported, right? So India follows a case by case approach, and our track record is very good. Historically, right from the time of attacks on Jews, Parsis, and all by Islamists, we have been providing them with the refuge. So you can take India as an example, right? Next thing, it is with respect to the annual survey of education report. So this annual survey of education report is giving some positive news, telling that the functional literacy, right, the foundational literacy, numeracy and all has improved in the children, right. So the class 3 children who can study the class 2 level books, it has increased, right. So it has increased to 27.3%. Now during the pandemic time, lot of problems were there, people lost the literacy because they were at home. Now this has improved both in mathematics as well as the reading writing, the literacy has improved. So that is something that has been highlighted in the ASER, right. So you must know this data, the data you have to memorize, you have to use for your mains exam. And we are also promoting a lot of schemes under the National Education Policy 2020, Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, right, Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan, Samagra Shiksha, that is Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan and the Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan integrated into Samagra Shiksha, PM Shri Schools Initiative, Ekalavya Model Residential Schools, Navodaya Schools, Sainik Schools, Right to Education Act. All this is improving the education, access to education. So the hopefully the annual survey of education data will increase in the future, right. So still it is very less. You see the children who are capable of studying the second standard book in the third standard, it's only 27%, right? That's a big problem. Only 1/4 of them are properly having that functional literacy. That's not good, right? Need to be 100%. So for that we have to work, right. So what is this annual survey of education report? It's conducted by Pratham NGO. So it is a key tool for assessing the national education policy. It evaluates schooling, reading, arithmetic and all from classes 1 to 8. Okay, so COVID had a negative impact on education, so resulting in our dropouts, school closures, all these things. People became poor, they couldn't afford to send their children to school, all these things. Now it is improving, right. So it's around 27%, but still it has to go a lot. Class 5 reading level, you see it's 48%, satisfactorily they're able to read. Hopefully it will increase further, right. So that is the thing. What are the factors contributing to recovery? The Nipun scheme is there, right, for the foundational literacy and numeracy. Nipun scheme, study it, right. Government school enrollment, that also they are increasing, and the NEP, Shri Schools Initiative, all that is encouraging the study in the local language. So people can study in the local language, they can understand better all these things, right. Some of the reasons for the high dropout rate, still poverty is there, right. And the quality of education, teachers also need to be given some training to improve their standards of teaching. The government school teachers are a very harassed lot. Apart from teaching, they do all this admin work, census work, election duty, all these things. Then when will they have the time to upskill themselves? The pay is also less, right. So if you give proper pay, only then it will attract the best teachers who are interested in teaching, right. So that is something that we have to do. Quality improvement, hopefully PM Shri Schools Initiative will increase the quality of infrastructure and all, right. So what is the way forward? Filling of vacancies, provision of upgrading the school infrastructure, right. Not only worrying about academics, sports also we have to concentrate. For example, our Kelo India program, so talent identification, promotion of those things have to be done, right. You can just go through these things. Mining politics, we've already seen this. Mining Mineral Development Regulation Act, the critical minerals, the major minerals and all, responsibility lies with the central government for auctioning it. Minor minerals alone, state government has the responsibility. And tungsten, the Aritapatti biodiversity heritage site, to know what is biodiversity heritage site, under which act it is there, who has the responsibility to recognize a site as a biodiversity heritage site, that and all you have to know. The protest happened and the auctioning was withdrawn. Vedanta won it, but the auctioning was withdrawn. So that is the thing. So critical minerals and all, you have to know what they are. All these things we have already discussed. The next thing, it is with respect to the availability of milk. So this particular article, it is once again giving the data, right? The poorest 30% consumed only 18% of India's milk, according to the National Sample Survey Organization. And another thing, rural urban disparity is also there. Urban households consume 30% more milk per capita than rural ones, despite the rural area only producing the milk. And among social groups, you can see scheduled tribe households consume 4 liters milk less per capita compared to general category. Now this hides more than what it shows. That's because the scheduled tribes, they prefer meat. You go to the northeast, none of them prefer milk. Okay, what they don't consume in milk, 5 times the amount they get the protein through meat. So don't think that person does not drink milk means he is very poor, he is suffering, he is crying, he is wanting milk, else he will die. It's very bad. It's because they don't like milk. Okay, they don't want milk, they don't like milk, they consume the meat itself. Go to the northeast, nobody drinks milk. If you are going from the other parts of the country to northeast, you don't get any milk at all, only the milk powder they get. Curd and all is very costly because they don't like it, it's not part of their cuisine, so obviously they'll consume less only. So this understanding, the people, they hide it. These type of researchers and all, if they had given that, uh, the reason being they drink less milk is because they don't like it. And if they had given the data, relevant data telling what is the malnutrition there, still if the malnutrition is less, then it's immaterial whether they drink milk or not. You can't force feed a person who doesn't like milk, drink milk. These are some of the things. It hides more than what it shows. And our people, we read the thing and think that, oh yes, this expert has given, we parrot that. It's not true, right? So the other thing, National Institute of Nutrition, it recommends consuming 300 grams per capita of milk daily for a sedentary adult, right? Like us, we don't do much, right? So enough milk we have. Okay, meeting this level of consumption would require 70% of Indian households to spend 10 to 30% of their total on milk. So out of pocket expenditure is there. And they've also mentioned that in the urban areas and the wealthy households, people are all obese. Too much of dairy they consume, ice cream, all these things, right? And the Poshan Abhiyan, they are trying to improve the nutrition status of the children. PM Poshan scheme, midday meal scheme is there. So integrated child development services, Anganwadi services schemes are there, take home rations, right? Food fortification, all this is being done. They are even promoting the coarse grains under the ration shops. So those things are all there. All this to promote the food and nutrition security. So just see it. Poshan Ma, that is nothing but the Poshan month, awareness month. Usually I guess it's celebrated in August, I guess, right? So just to be aware of all these things, right? Sorry, not August. No, I'm not aware. I think Swachhata Ma only is celebrated in October because it's Gandhi's birthday. Poshan Ma, I guess it shifts. I'm not sure which month, right? So just go through these things, right? So the data we have already discussed these, right? Challenges in milk access, okay. And A1, A2 milk and all, know what is the difference. So A1, A2 milk, casein, what is it? All these things you have to know, right? Malnutrition, right? Stunting, wasting and all, the global hunger index data, take it. Percentage of stunted children 35%, wasted children 19%, that's the highest in the world. So study all these things, right? Overconsumption, we become obese, diabetic, all these problems and all happens. India's dairy sector ranks first in milk production, 24% of output, so that's very good. Contribution 5% of India's economy, right? So 8 crore farmers, mostly women, these are all very, very small farmers, right? Verghese Kurian, father of white revolution, to increase the prices, right? So that the rural area they can develop. Operation Flood, right? nationwide milk grid, cooperatives, all that you might have heard, self-help groups, FPOs, cooperatives. It's a success story, right? Started in Amul, spread elsewhere, right? Cooperative movement. National Milk Day, November 26, Varghese Korean's birth anniversary, organized by Department of Animal Husbandry and Dairying. National Dairy Development Board, statutory body under the National Dairy Development Board Act 1987, right? So under Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry, Dairying. And there's a Gopal Ratna award and all, you have to know, even that is there. Gopal Ratna award given to the best breeder, right? Promotion of the nondescript breeds, right? Pashu Sanjeevani, right? Pashu Aadhar, all these things are there. National Bovine, what is that? Bovine Research Center, right? Gopal Grams, right? Availability of high quality of semen, all these things are there, right? It's being done by the Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry, Dairying. So know about it. Okay, all this to promote the milk supply only, right? So what are the challenges? So low productivity, right? Fodder shortage, climate very hot, all these things, lumpy skin disease. So know about all these things, and we can't promote the the growth hormones or antibiotics and all. We can't divert to the farm animals. So that is one thing. So One Health initiative, remember all of that. Ensuring quality control, all these things are there. NABL accredited testing. So those things, milk related problem, not much has come, right? So PM Poshan, we have seen ICDS, Anganwadi services, Rashtriya Gokul Mission, that only I told you, promotion of indigenous cattle breed, non-descripted breed, Gopal Ratna Award, Gopal Gram, National Bovine, what is that, Research Center or Germplasm Center, that is their high quality semen availability, Pashu Sanjeevani, Pashu Aadhar, all that they are doing. National Dairy Development Program to promoting the dairy cooperatives. So just go through it. So the next article, this next article is regarding the India-China relations, right? So India-China relations, recently only we have started speaking with China again. So after the Doklam standoff, after the Galwan crisis and all, we stopped speaking to China, and already now somewhat thaw has happened. But remember that some of the areas still we cannot patrol, still under the Chinese control only. Okay, so that is the thing. Now with Donald Trump at the helm, maybe China also will be they might back down a bit. Okay, because already sanctions and all will be put against them. But China has grown that much big that they no longer have to be afraid of anybody. That is one thing. And Russia, fully under China control only now. They are so much dependent on China. So that is one issue. Okay, and China's growth, you can see, right? China grew more than 10% for 30 years. Okay, now India's growth has increased, but China's economy, you see, it's a $19 trillion. India's economy only $3 trillion. Their forex is more than $2 trillion forex they are having, and they are having a fiscal surplus. Every year, $900 billion they make through trade, and every year we lose through trade. We have a fiscal deficit, sorry, foreign trade deficit. They have foreign trade surplus of 900 billion, and we make loss. And our forex reserve totally itself is 600 billion only. They make per year 900 billion profit through export. So understand that much powerful they are. Okay, and still some of the areas are under the Chinese control in Ladakh. Okay, and still the Belt and Road Initiative they are promoting in the Pakistan. A lot of places they are having the control, like Ambandota port, a lot of ports in Karachi port in Pakistan, our port in Myanmar, Kakfu port, all these things, that string of pearl theory, all that you just be aware. Okay, so we have to see how to deal with the China. The problem is now they are waging the water war also. They are creating that huge dam, biggest dam in the world in the Great Bend. So nobody knows what is going to happen. It is going to produce a huge amount of power. What if an earthquake happens or something happens? So we have to see what's going to happen, right? So just to go through these things. Okay, another thing they are talking about the India-Sri Lanka issue. So India-Sri Lanka issue, you would have seen the Tamil crisis, right? Recently, India's moved to name the Jaffna Cultural Center after the Jaffna Thiruvalluvar Cultural Center, right? So that is the thing. Okay, You might have heard 1983 anti-Tamil pogrom. You would have heard of the Indo-Lanka Accord of 1987. You would have heard of the 13th Amendment of the Sri Lankan Constitution, which promised to create the provincial councils in the north and the east in the Tamil majority region. It will be like a state government, but still it has not been implemented. You would have heard of LTT, how they fought against the Sri Lankan army, right? You might be aware of the linguistic problem between the Sri Lanka Sinhalese and the Tamils, right? So India has asked for authorization of the 13A, but still it has not been implemented. So it only remains in the constitution on paper, but not implemented. Okay. So currently new president, this Dissanayake, he has come to power. He is having the chance to resolve this problem. So India is also given lot of help to Sri Lanka, right? India also has got some access to certain ports in Sri Lanka also, and line of credit, forex crisis and all happened in Sri Lanka. We have given the line of credit, foreign exchange and all, subsidized rates to them, helped them. Okay. But once again, unless the Article 13 is implemented, it will still be a problem. The Tamils will have a huge problem, right? So that is the thing with respect to Sri Lanka. So brief history, I think you would have heard, right? The British time, the Tamils were favored in the administration and education. So this is what the British did everywhere. So in Sri Lanka, they favor the Tamils. In India, they favor the separatists, right? So that is why partition happened here. So here they favored the Tamils. It caused the resentment in Sinhalese. And upon independence, Sinhalese were in majority. They created Sinhala Only Act of 1956, only one official language. So this caused lot of trauma to the Tamils. Lot of pogroms, fight and all happened. Many Tamils were killed, right? And eventually LTT, that entity arose, and they started attacking the Sri Lankan government and all, and war happened. Eventually the LTT was defeated, and all these ethnic conflict struggle and all has happened, and many people, they have died. Mass graves and all are there in the Sri Lanka. And 13th Amendment to create the provincial councils, still the provincial authority and all is still not there. Like the state government, you have to give them some power, but they have not implemented it, right? So these are some of the things. Okay, now their forex also is weak. Okay, but overall majority is there to Dissanayake. Maybe he can solve this problem, right? So Prime Minister Modi, he has urged the full implementation of the 13th Amendment, right? So that is the thing. So these are some of the things. Next article regarding the pollution of the Yamuna. So another 60 pages, right? So we can do this. So pollution of Yamuna, you can see that lot of undischarged sewage is being let off into the Yamuna, right? So Yamuna cleanup and all is there, but the problem is that undischarged sewage is there. It is being let off by Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, Delhi and all. Unless you are going to create the tertiary treatment reverse osmosis plant, the Yamuna river will be polluted and people will suffer, everything will suffer. So now, see, it's a huge opportunity, right? If we can implement a lot of money into the tertiary effluent treatment plants, it will create huge employment. It will create a huge benefit to the ecosystem. Okay, it will create the quality of life will improve, civic sense among the people will improve, the biodiversity will improve, right? It will help in better catch for the fishermen and all, everything will improve. But I don't know why we are not concentrating on waste, right? The recycling industry, the waste collection industry, the bio industry, right, pollution treatment industry, desalination industry, all this has the huge potential. It will help us meet the enhanced NDC target also. I don't know why we are not doing it. So these are some of the things that we have to take in mind. Okay, see, despite so many plants that they have created, still Yamuna is still polluted only. Okay, so these are some of the things, you can just go through it. Okay. So interstate dispute. So National Green Tribunal is there. They only have to force them. Central Pollution Control Board, State Pollution Control Board, they all have to implement it. Okay, so maybe the central government can intervene, do something about it, right? They can't simply say that water is a state subject, so we will not intervene. They have to take the responsibility and do it. Okay, only then with the state's center's nudge. So Swachh Bharat mission also, it happened with the center's nudge. So like that, center's nudge is needed. Okay, so they have to do it instead of washing their hands off the issue. Okay. So the India Sri Lanka backdrop, once again, this thing you would have heard. Okay, just go through it. Fine. India China issue, Doklan standoff, Galwan, we have already seen. India China relations, all these things are there. You can go through it. You can use the data. Wuhan Summit 2018, Mamalapuram Summit, then 1993, 1996 peace accords. Okay, special representative dialogues, all these things are there. Confidence building measures, people to people ties, everything has declined in the recent years. No, the LAC, ITBP is there, right? So Galwan clash, Doklam clash, right? Yangtze incident in Arunachal, right? The military highway that they have built in the Aksai Chin, all these things, just go through it. Okay, 2013 border defense cooperation agreement to prevent the aggressive patrolling. Now we are part of Quad. We have boycotted Belton Road because it passes through LAC, right? So India has banned the Chinese apps and all, and tightened the FDI if it is coming from China. All these things are there. So just to make use of the data, okay, use it in your mains answers. Okay, so mining critical minerals, already we have seen it. Tungsten, with respect to that, some of the properties is there. You can go through the data. Applications, it has application in aerospace, in nozzles, turbine blades, electrical contacts, filaments. So in electronics also, high performance engine component in automobile industry, medical X-ray equipment it's used. Okay, so cutting tools. So that is the thing. MMDR Act, you understand it. We have already discussed it. Mining is there under the central list also, state list also. So under the central list, what they are saying it, under the MMDR Act, they have implemented this power, central government. Anything with respect to the major mineral, strategic mineral, critical mineral, central government will do the auction. Minor mineral, the state government will do the auction. So that is the thing, right? So what are the risks in mining, the environmental cost, environmental impact assessment, all these things, study it. Okay, suggestions for improvement, sustainable mining. Now that is why we are trying to mine from the ocean bed. You are having the deep ocean mission and all, right? So we have got the mining, we are polymetallic nodule and all, we are trying to mine. So from the, I told you, from the ISA we have got the extra area to do the mining also. So deep ocean mission, under that we are developing the technology to mine from the ocean's crust, right? So these are some of the things. And of course, reduce, reuse, refuse, recycle, that 4 R's we have to do. Huge opportunity is there in recycling, waste management and all. I don't know why we are not doing it. It solves a lot of problems. And regarding refugees, we have already seen, right? Global Compact on Refugees, India is not a legal signatory. Remember that. 1967 Protocol, 1951 Refugee Convention. Once again, India is not a signatory. Okay, Arab Peace Initiative, it is to normalize the Arab relationship with the Palestinians. Arab Abraham Accord, normalization of the Israel-Arab relations. We have seen that, right? With the UAE, Bahrain, Morocco, Sudan, right? So these are some of the things, right? Israel axis of resistance has broken, right? We discussed that. Hezbollah has fallen, Hamas has fallen, Syria has fallen, the Houthis alone are still alive, and Iran itself is weak, right? So those things are there. So challenges to lasting peace. So challenges to lasting peace is, you need to ensure that two-state solution should be there, but Israel is not coming forward for the two-state solution, right? That is the thing. If Trump is able to do that, he'll sign the deal of the century and he'll get a Nobel Peace Prize also. Okay. Salient features of Indian Constitution, you can just go through it, right? Lengthiest, it's a blend of rigidity, flexibility, federal structure, unitary bias, right? Parliamentary form of government, what are the different fundamental rights, what are the different DPSP, right? What is article of secularism, independent judiciary, integrated and independent judiciary, remember that, right? Integrated means from the district court, then to the high court, then to the Supreme Court. all these courts, they will discuss all types of subjects. It's not like central subject means only to Supreme Court, not like that. State subject, central subject, anything, it will go to the district court, high court, Supreme Court. That's how it works. Integrated judiciary, universal adult franchise above 18 years, first past the post system, single citizenship, important articles, schedules and all is there, you can go through it. So some of the issues, judicial overreach, for example, Manipur riot, the ethnic problem happening due to judicial overreach, right? One erroneous judgment, lack of proper thinking, they have caused the problem. So right, this why this Kuki Meiti fight is happening. So remember that. So DPSP versus fundamental rights, electoral reforms, right? So just go through it. These electoral bonds and all have been struck down, right? Democratic government, economic growth, social revolution. So all these things, right? It is there in the preamble itself. It's there part of the basic structure also. So just go through it. Okay. Challenges with TB control. We have already discussed this, right? Migrant workers, right? They are exposed to silica dust. It causes TB. All these things are there. So we have seen this, right? Challenges in securing critical minerals. Once again, this also we have seen, right? So that is the thing. So we have discussed a lot of content. So that is the thing. All these things, right? We'll share the PDF with you, right? Yesterday itself you would have downloaded it. Make use of the content, study it. Any questions are there, you can address to us at any time. And even the sample questions and all, you can write the answers and you can send it to us. We'll evaluate it. Okay. So hope that this session was beneficial to you, right? Right, looking forward to having further such discussions, right? Thank you for your time. Any queries you can very well put to us. Make use of the material, right? So another 3-4 months for prelims, so prepare well, right? So current affairs, these are the things, right? We'll once again meet in the next class for the next month's discussion. Okay. Thank you.